try again. We are doing a home lab now, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say what I did before. I already said this and I was muted, so I'm gonna repeat it really quick. So this video, at the beginning of the video, is gonna be talking as with every video that I'm gonna post. I'm gonna post as many live streams as I can now to YouTube, in raw form, and I will always put some sort of commentary at the beginning, and I'll always put some sort of commentary at the end. I did make a mistake, and just so you can not be me, I actually made the mistake of immediately starting to talk at the beginning of the video of the live stream before anybody could validate that I was actually here and they could hear me, and I was muted. So by the time they finally came in, on most live streams, they'll have like this big 10-minute thing at the beginning that says, "Hey, wait around, here I come." And I don't want to do that because I just want to push export on Twitch because I'm lazy and I want it to just go straight up to YouTube. So I start talking right away. And what that means is a lot of you are going to actually end up missing some of the preliminary introductory stuff at the beginning. But that is stuff that I think will become apparent to the people that stay around in the live stream for the whole thing. So this is something new that I've been doing now that I'm doing a lot more live streams from the laptop. But today's topic is the home lab, and we're going to spend 2 hours going through this. I'm going to talk through the whole thing today, rather than have, the muted middle section with music, because I have to do a lot of things here. I actually have to do so. This is a very much a participatory thing. There's a lot of live chat going on. We were just congratulating somebody for passing their security plus. It was really awesome. So this is just really exciting. And so the question about setting up your own home lab, and I've got it on the screen here. I've got the what we're gonna do today. This will be, I don't know if it's gonna be the first. I already have a playlist called Home Lab on YouTube, and it's kind of messy. There's a lot of stuff in there. I probably am just gonna go ahead and add this anyway because I'm not a fan of deleting videos off YouTube. Sometimes people find even the old bad stuff okay to look at. So I am going to go ahead and tell the story behind what's prompting this. Um, yeah, you're going to invest in a home lab? Yes, let's talk about that. And that's actually why I'm doing this. So I really hope that all the people that are thinking about building a home lab make it in here and they see this video, and they come in, they leave comments in the YouTube, which I never read, but maybe you can come in the Discord, maybe you can come in the Twitch, with us live. This is going to be a regular thing. I don't know. I'm just going to show you the calendar really quickly. So this is my calendar, including my personal calendar, and home lab section is afternoons on Fridays. My place of employment gives me Friday afternoon ish to do educational things, and so I've dedicated that time to building and fixing and updating my home lab, including. And you'll notice we're streaming to the software and development category today instead of the science and tech category. I mean, I don't even want to talk about the historic drama. I've made jokes about the difference between those two and been totally canceled by certain individuals in Twitch just for making the jokes. Um, that's long history. The point of it is the reason that I'm going to stream this to software and game dev is because the home lab that I am building is specifically to fulfill my role as a senior back-end developer. And so that is my official title these days since they brought me on full time. When I was hired as a consultant, my official title was senior high performance machine learning infrastructure engineer. I know that's kind of a mouthful. But you have to know that it's not a flex. You just have to know that in order to know that's why I am building the lab I am building. And those of you who are building labs for other purposes, and I like Het Tanis, for example, is much more in operations, and I am definitely in operations, but just more on the development side of things. There's kind of a spectrum, even within operations. You can have people that are, more developer centric. Even within operations, they write more of the scripts, and then you have people that are more DevOpsy, that are Alt F4. That channel comes to mind. Those guys are, doing a lot of cloud stuff, and they're doing a lot of Terraform, a lot of Ansible, a lot of CI/CD, and all of that. And then you have like, like really core infrastructure operations people that are like dealing with hardware all the time. So even within operations, there's this whole, spectrum, and frankly, even within back-end development, there's a whole spectrum. So hopefully, we you can kind of get a handle on that. That is a topic that we flesh out a lot more in the beginner boost that I've been doing every year for years. We're going to start up by way that officially there's a plug for the beginner boost on November 3rd. November 3rd will be the first beginner boost. It's not going to be sequentially. What we're going to do is we're going to pick up the beginner boost from 2024 that we stopped earlier when I went on my trip and everything. So stay tuned for that. That'll be November 3rd if you want to be here in the studio audience while I record videos that are going to then go up on skillstack.io. Okay, so that is what's going on with the schedule. The home lab time. So if you just want to bookmark this time, if you're on YouTube, the first time you're hearing of it, as of this moment, every Friday afternoon from 1:30 to 3:45 Eastern time is going to be me working on my home lab. I got a late start today, and let me tell you why. So this is actually kind of an interesting story. Um, and I would actually, I don't know, what should we do for story time? Like, how could I like make it more fun for you? I don't know what to say. I'm just gonna jump in. I wonder if I could like zoom in or something. We needed an effect. We need an effect. Okay, here we go. Story time. Get your copy. This is a story, okay? This is a very short story, so don't worry. I am a very long-winded person. Yes, I know. Okay. Oh my God, I'm so big in the window. I must be pretty scary. Some people are very scared right now. Okay, here comes my story. I'll push you back far away. I'll push you back far away, okay? Story time with Rob. So, I put that thing on the counter that I just talked to you about, right? Laptop has self-esteem issues. Oh no, you saw my pajama pants. I'm totally outed. Oh damn. Okay. Once upon a time, I bought a big ass computer. I bought a Hewlett Packard HP Z640. Actually, I recently made Team No Pants. I actually recently made a video about this, and I might have to put an amendment to that video because I have a feeling I might not be sticking with that recommendation. You know why? I gotta go buy another one. I know. Spoiler alert. Okay, so today my you saw on the schedule how I was late for this thing today, right? So I went to go turn on my some of you know I'm in the middle of a move, right? Well, we're still moving. This is the new apartment. You're seeing little pieces of it here and there. And I mean I was actually going to do this stream from the back room, my yoga slash computer room, and and the computer's broke. Computer's broke. Yeah. And it's actually pretty funny. I kind of wish I had video of it trying to turn on. So I went it's just like $1,400 used refurbished machine. It's a kick-ass deal. Hey Ray. And so I went to go turn it on. I found the power plug. I was so proud of myself. I found it's a total mess, and I was like, oh my God, okay. Then I plugged the Ethernet in, and I retooled the internet and everything, got it all worked up. I was like, oh great, I'm all ready to like chop this up. Today. This just happened today, yeah. So I was like, I'm all ready to go chop up this computer, this into a whole bunch of virtual machines and show them off in my home lab. No, no luck, no luck. I have the worst luck in the world, by the way. I just feel like I do. So what happened? So I ended up going to turn it on, and it like started screaming at me. I mean, literally, it was like bam, 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 bam. It was like five of these really loud, like annoying things. Bam, bam, bam. And I was like, this will not do. This cannot be. And I was like, oh shit, what's going on? I mean, I thought, did I plug my UPS in somehow? Because it was screaming at me like my UPS was yelling at me, right? So and then I looked on the front and there's a red light where the power button is, and it's like blinking on. And then I was like, and eventually it died, and I was like, okay, maybe it'll go off, or maybe I turned it on wrong, or maybe it got the power cut, and I just need to turn the power back on again. So I turned it off. I turned it off. I held the thing down. You hold any button down long enough, and the thing will go off whether it wants to or not. And so I did. I totally killed it, and I turned the thing off. And um, yeah, clean your pants. I know, clean your pants. You guys want to go clean your pants? So, and I mean, okay, so it gets better because then I tried it again. So I plugged it in again, and and I it did the thing again, and give it a yeah. Yeah, I can't repeat that. This is going on YouTube, Mark. See, that's the kind of comment that was very funny, but that's the kind of comment that's not going to go on YouTube. If you want to see the not suitable for work comments from Mark, you got to come on Twitch to see those, okay? Because I can't repeat them. All right. So awesome. Hey, awesome. Um, and so this is what happened. So I ended up getting uh totally screwed over, and I let the thing run, right? So I let it go. I let it stay on, right? To be completely honest, I forgot about it. So I turned it on and it stopped beeping at me, and I was thinking to myself, I had my headlamp on. Where's my headlamp? Yeah, I was like this is I'll reenact it for you, okay? I'll reenact it for you. Yeah. I was like, because it's really dark in there. I was like, wow, that does some very interesting things to my. Yes. Anyway, so it has green too. Did you know that? Yeah. If you push it enough, it has like green and stuff. Yeah. Ooh, see? Yeah, you thought you were gonna learn things instead of just learning how I'm playing with my camo headband that lasts forever. That'll last through the zombie apocalypse. Anyway, how you doing, Quiet? Hawk, Hawk to that thing. Okay. Anyway, so I forgot about it. I forgot about it, and then guess. Can you guess what happened? I'll let you guess. Okay, I'm gonna let you guess what happened. What came next? Okay, so one, the thing is plugged in. Two, it already screamed at me and had the red lights, and then it stopped screaming, but it was still plugged in, and I wasn't paying attention to it. Three, I waited. I waited. I waited like 10 minutes, right? 5 minutes, something like that. And all of a sudden, I mean, I was like, and then I got up actually. I got up and I was walking around. I was like, and then I went out of the room and I was like, what the hell is that noise? Yeah. So I went back, I went back into the room. I went back into the room and the thing was gonna explode. It sounded like it was about to explode. It was like on maximum fan. The fan was like, and I was like, oh my God, there's a short in the motherboard. And I'm just like totally now the power supply is gonna melt and the whole thing and the computer's like trying to save itself. And it was like I mean, and this is an enterprise system. And so if you know the difference between enterprise and your normal desktop player, PC, this is an enterprise system. When they get hot, those fans kick on, man. I mean, there was like fans after on top of fans on top of fans, and I could not hear myself practically in there. I was like, so my little yoga room with like the pretty lights and everything. Go watch the yoga video. You can see those. It became like this place where it was about to explode. It was like now it was like the loudest possible IT noise you could ever get in a raised floor area and like a hosting service. So yeah, my computer's dead. And you know what? And I paid like so I opened it up again. I actually obviously I unplugged it, right? I took the thing off and I opened it up again. I've got my headlamp. I'm poking around looking in there, and I noticed there's like a full brand new cobweb under one of the areas. And I was like, was the spider like chewing on the motherboard or something? Because the spider's not there anymore, and it's not that big a cobweb. There wasn't that much dust in there or anything. So, I mean, it's a motherboard, right? And the only thing I can figure is that um it was the machine itself while I was on my trip. And I'm telling you all of these things so you don't destroy your own hardware like I did. And honestly, I thought, I mean, this is a pretty robust system. If you've seen it, it's a HP Z640 refurbished. And I think I thought it was going to be a lot more robust, right? So I mean, if this was actually at work, I would have never taken the chances I'm about to tell you that I took with this thing. Because seriously, people, don't judge me. Don't judge me based on my folly during managing my own home lab, okay? I already said the whole thing. You have to go back and watch the video. So people were asking what I did. So this is what I think happened. So I set this server tower on its side, which is totally fine to do that. It's actually designed to go, to go in and out of a rack that way. And I even have the extra $300 hardware kit to make it go in and out, which didn't work with my rack that I've already donated to a community college. And so anyway, this the computer, I think I laid it and it was on the carpet next to my desktop PC. And the only thing I can figure is that either some moisture got in there on the board. That area had, we actually, a year ago, some of you might remember the pipes bursting in 2 floors above us in the apartment that I was in, and we got flooded on Christmas Eve. And that almost destroyed $20,000 worth of computer hardware that I since donated to some other place that did never got hit with the water, thank God. But you have to know that part of the story because now I don't have any hardware. So the takeaway from this is I gave away, including two brand new switches that I paid, with VLAN capacity and power over Ethernet and everything. Um, so I'm hardware less. Yeah. The only working hardware I have, you know what? I kind of like this dilemma though, because this dilemma that I find myself in right now is forcing me to talk about, my wife tells me all the time, don't give your shit away. But when it comes to hardware, particularly hardware that can be used by other people, or you know, I don't think you should wait, right? Like for example, I when I'm going through this move, I have so much hardware. I have like a fully functional Garmin GPS that I stopped using and didn't donate or give to anybody, and then the rubber like rotted on it. Had I given it to somebody, they could have got some usage out of it before doing it, right? To buy hardware, give it away, buy more hardware, right? It's all just baggage, right? So my so we have a decision to make. All right. So the decision here is, do I buy more hardware or do I look at the alternatives? And again, this is the reason I'm talking to you about this particular dilemma, this part of the dilemma, and the reason I like it is because I am just like you. I'm just If you're just starting out and you're a technologist and you maybe found me for the beginner boost content or something like that, and you're asking yourself, what do I need to get good? I actually made a meme about this. I'm gonna go find it right now. It's on my I think I didn't think I think I posted it to Instagram. Yeah. I posted a meme about this. It's on my Instagram. Yeah, here we go. Not very many likes on it right now, but can you see that? So right here you have, if you know the Olympics meme, right? You got this Turkish guy who just pulls his gun out and gets like second place. And so, this is a home lab and this is like multiple expensive certifications and, paying all this kind of money and everything. And then you don't have anything to actually use it for it. So, spending all this money, but then you can't really do anything with the outcome of it. Uh, but if you cobble together your own home lab made out of like refurbished hardware, can you imagine if I paid for that thing new? So I refurbished. It cost me 1,200 bucks, 1,300 bucks. I don't know how much it cost. Let's go look. Let's go look. It was I actually made a video about it. But let's go find it again. So Amazon, I hope I don't dox too much about myself here, but oh well. Uh I mean, I am positive I'm doxing stuff about myself. HPZ 640. I just really hope my address isn't on there somewhere. My wife would be so mad at me. Search orders. I did. Okay. At HP search orders. You're going to see everything we ever bought through Amazon. That's how risky I am. Yeah. Gosh dang it. What, am I going to search this for computer? Computer. I didn't spell right. Come on, Rob. I can't type this because of the angle here. God, you're going to see all of my things that I bought. You can see all the money I waste. I don't like this itemization thing. Maybe I should go back to privacy mode for a second so you can't see all of my. So far, yeah, I haven't doxed anything too badly, I hope. Um, God, if they put a secure token in the URL, I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna be really pissed. Never put that shit in query strings. That's like such a major no-no. Why isn't it showing it? HP server tower. All right, so the Reliant Gen Z. You like my big nose? I like your nose too. My big broken nose. My nose got, you see how broken it is? Yeah. I might get a new nose out of this, out of getting my teeth knocked out. Yeah. What? What is this one about? HPC 740 tower, also Xenon V3, 6 cores? That's not very many cores. No. The one I had like 50 cores, I think. Yeah. It was a Z640. I'm gonna find it. Z640. I have to find it. I already made a video and I can't remember where it is now. Here it is. Renewed. What? No, that's not it. That is not. That does not have. There. The one I have had like two, like 512 meg of RAM and stuff like that. Xenon are they're cheap. PC aliens. Really? Do they? That's so cool. Yeah, I think if you go over here, you can find some of them. By the way, I'm not particularly a fan of HP. I just is this I found the biggest amount of bang for the buck, but now that it broke, I'm not so sure I want to recommend HP refurbished anymore. A dual 25 gig NIC and a brand new i9. Yeah, I know. So, but I'm glad you guys are talking about the issues involving buying refurbished hardware. Um, Obviously, one of the issues is it might go dead on you anytime, so you better have a backup of some kind. Um, that's not that much RAM. My system, God, I've got to find it. I've got to find it. I can't tell you how much RAM it had in it. It was insane. You know what? It's in here somewhere. Yeah, Z HP SRE HPC ML SRE technologies simulating ML ops. No, that's not it. Z640. I wonder if I even wrote anything about it. I didn't. I did. I didn't. I didn't write anything about it. That makes me mad. Because you know what? I made a video about it. I did. I made a video. Did I put a link in the video? In my own video? Where is it? Third computer you should buy. There it is. Should be a server. Hey, why don't I actually watch my own video? How about that? There you go. Z640. I didn't put a link though. I got all this stuff in there. There you go. Yeah, people saying they have different needs. No interest in doing that. This was kind of a trolling reply though, by the way. Yeah, this person says I had a specific audience in online class he is addressing. No doubt, but they're not obviously someone who happens to find a video for the first time. My point is simply that this approach isn't for everyone. No, it's not. But it's worth. Look, point taken. I'll defer to the person who said, "I have a different system, and your recommendation is just for a particular type of user." But I don't need that. That's the wrong system. I'm like, okay. But a lot of times when people come to me, they want to know, well, what's the best system to get started with for what you do? And that's when I make videos. I make videos assuming people are going to do like, I don't know, a modicum of research about where I'm coming from. That's why I made that 10-minute, you know, summary at the beginning of the video about the kind of thing that I'm doing. And so I'm getting a Vortex blender overnight. So there. HP Z640. There it is. Okay, so this is what I got. So for $735, okay, we have to look at this again. And the reason we have to look at this again, I'm gonna switch to small mode so you can see that better. The reason we have to look at this again is because we have to decide whether I'm gonna do the hardware route and buy another one. Which is funny because I was just gonna buy the Action 5 camera, which is, the kit. The kit's like $570, $500 or so. And instead, I'm so glad I didn't do that because that money I can now spend on a new tower if I need one. But we haven't decided if we're gonna get a new tower yet, and I know it's gonna take a long time, but I'm gonna use as much of this 2 hours in this video as I can, evaluating all my options, for somebody like me, that is somebody who wants to specialize in, back-end software development, who has already done everything I need for infrastructure engineering. I have had since, I for the last 30 years, and I'm not even exaggerating. Am I doxing my address there? Which part of it? It says Davidson. That's fine. View my order. I'm looking again. I'm looking very closely to make sure. I don't mind doxing Davidson if it has the exact if it has my exact street address, then that would be bad. I need to know that, so I'm taking a moment to look at that, um, just to see if that's true. Uh, if it is true, I'll have to throw this video away, but that's fine. I don't mind doing that either. Uh, but I really want to know because I regularly go to Amazon and I want to be able to go to Amazon cleanly and not have to worry about everything. I know that my specific home address does get doxed when I order. So when you place the order, that's the screen I don't ever want to show. But this here it says delivered to Rob Davidson 2306. That is not doxing my exact location. And people know I live in Davidson already. I IRL stream from Davidson literally every day. So anyway, okay. So enough of that. This is the thing I want to go. Do we get another one or do we not? All right. Now, if you had asked me this question, uh, yeah, thank you though, K-Merc. I appreciate that. OBS filter that detects your own info and blurs it out. There's probably something. I don't care about that. It would be hard. Mm. I just don't want people to know my exact. And if you did figure it out, it would be fine. I've actually streamed from this place before. In that photo. Okay, all right, we're all good. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat there. People are watching out for me. I appreciate that. I really do. Thank you very much for watching out for me. Um, so again, um, if you are just starting out and you like to do more than just software. So I personally think everybody should build a computer at least once, right? Is it required to get a job? No, it's absolutely not required. It definitely isn't. That's not required. You can do that. Um, and so the point I'm trying to make is if you're just starting out, then it might be better for you. And this is what we used to do this at Skill Stack all the time. We would have a couple dozen people bring in computers and grandma's old computer with taxes on it, and we'd wipe the drive and get to use it. I mean, there are computers that are being wasted in people's corners of their apartment and their houses all over the country, all over the world. And so finding those and putting Linux on there and breathing new life and wiping the drives in a way that, your aunt or uncle was going to trust. That's the reason they're hanging on to it, by the way, because they don't want to get rid of it. They're too afraid that they're going to be giving away information. So it goes in the corner of their house someplace and they totally forget about it until you ask them, right? So if that's the case, and you want to play around with a lot of hardware, you can probably get a lot of free hardware and you can put that all and you can tinker with it. And you can install Linux on there and you can, maybe invest some money in buying a switch and then putting them all on the switch and then, practice your networking and then you can build an actual cluster out of those. You can combine those all into Proxmox as long as you don't get more than 16, which is what I did. I had a whole bunch of Mac Minis and I put more than 16 and Proxmox fell on its face. So, there's lots of things you can do. Proxmox is a virtualization manager technology. It's a very popular non-enterprise application for managing home lab kind of stuff, which at some point we'll talk about. If you really want to know about things like Proxmox and stuff like that, there are lots of other streamers and YouTubers who do much better video content than I ever will about that. Um, so I'm not particularly interested in it, by the way. So let's repeat what I'm interested in, and then you can decide how you want to divert from what I'm interested in. Again, I just want an enterprise environment that models the environment that I am responsible to work on and to maintain. Now, when I say work on and maintain, my current responsibilities at work are rather simple. So my current work responsibilities boil down um, to me being uh, these days, writing code and writing Kubernetes deployments and writing Kate apps and managing tickets and making sure that our nodes are up, or if they have problems, that they're flapping, fix them. But whenever we have a problem, we hand the infrastructure problems off to the infrastructure team, and we hand off other problems that are related to um, what I want to say here, other problems that are related to networking, for example, to the network team. And these are all things that in a smaller company you would be responsible for and you can actually work with. And I had done that in the past. I mean, depending on where you work, you might be the entire one person IT shop. And if that's you, then maybe that's the lab you want. But in my case, I don't want that, right? The only thing I want is I want a reliable uh set of systems that mimic as close as possible the systems that I am responsible for. So my primary responsibility going into 2025 and the end of 2024 is completing and maintaining and adding observability to our high performance machine learning API, which is, I'm very proud to say, is keeping over 100. I think at this point we're moving 1,000, over 100 H100s, each of which is $25,000 busy. And so the software that I've written with that I mean that my peers and I have written keeps that stuff running. Our team is keeping that very, very expensive hardware busy. I can't buy that hardware. I can't even dream of renting a V100. Even to rent a V100 is like 1,000 a month. So, I mean, these are very expensive systems, and I work for a company that has more computing power than probably I've actually heard that unofficially, if our company was actually public about its computing capacity, it would be within the top 5 of the world and its computing capacity. And please don't guess where I work. Um, it's pretty surprising. It's pretty surprising that the company that I work for has that much computing capacity and is putting it to good work all the time. And very happy to say that the software that I've been writing and testing and need to improve upon is helping with that. So people will use our Apogee API, and they'll submit their applications via the API, and it will go into the system and via PBS, which is actually a really good thing that I'm taking note of, because I need to simulate PBS on our systems. I need to create a fully simulated PBS batch processing system in addition to Kubernetes, so that I can emulate our batch processing systems. Um, and I don't know how much because we've customized a lot of it. We have some pretty big names working for our company, including the people who originally wrote the PBS software. If you don't know what batch processing is, I mean, we could go look it up really quick. But the only reason it's relevant for the home lab talk is can I run this on my lab? OpenPBS. Yep. OpenPBS is the closest one to it. And this has become uh biting my tongue here. I have to be careful here because some of this stuff borders on intellectual property. Because yeah, if I so how do I put this? If I make my if I build a home lab that very directly emulates uh how our company has strategically deployed high performance computing, um I don't know at what point I'm giving away our trade secrets. And I have to be careful with that. Just the fact that we even use PBS, I'm going to briefly talk about that. It is relevant to this home lab conversation, um, because a lot of people, particularly on Twitch, but definitely on YouTube, talk about where they work all the time, and uh, they give very specific examples. I don't have a problem with it. I just feel like uh sometimes it borders on a violation of trade secret IP law. In fact, I was very concerned. The Prime agent, you guys know Prime, um, and lately, Prime and I have tried to help each other out a little bit. Obviously, he's a huge streamer, and he seeks to be a huge streamer. I do not. Um, I want to talk about this briefly though, because in one of his microservices video, he very very specifically started drawing all of his components. A few times he was more abstract about it, but he made a full diagram of the infrastructure required for um, an episode of Black Mirror that caused a lot of problems, and it was related to the microservices meme. And I don't want to get too far off topic here, but the fact that he was putting that into his video made me aware that I need to be careful that I'm not doing something similar. And I don't know what their policy is on that, but in my world, the way I was raised, even telling somebody where you worked in a pub was considered something that you would get, an HR violation. So we live in a different time, and I admit I'm old. But people regularly talk about their companies. They use it as an opportunity to. I mean, there's Alta Ford is the same thing. He's very open with the company he works for and talks about it openly. And he says what strategy they've used, even very specifically outlines their security strategies. And in my world, that is like such a no-no. So anyway, so why is it relevant to the home lab? Because as I'm building out the home lab for one of the top five highest performing high performance computing machine learning labs in the world, um, I could be divulging something. So the takeaway for you, the reason you care is because if you're building a home lab and you're doing it live and you're doing it publicly, you probably want to be careful that you don't end up divulging corporate trade secrets. I'm actually streaming with the mic on right now, just to let you know. I can move if you want, but I'm just letting you know. We have a mystery guest is mystery guest is over here, so I had to bring attention to it because I really did. You know me, I can't stop. We need to go get pizza again, by the way. People ask where's mystery guest all the time. I'm telling anyway. That's okay. My stepson, mystery guest. All right, so where are we? Let's go back to the home lab thing. Let's get on with it. So we need to make a decision whether we're going to buy hardware or whether we're going to do software. So let's go ahead and look at the breakdown money wise, shall we? So let's do that. What is our budget? So my budget is I'm either going to be, that's why I wanted to show the hardware, because let's add it up. So, okay, so here we go. We've got uh we collect your own hardware. We talked about doing that. We talked about using the cloud for everything. Actually, we haven't talked about that, but we will talk about that. Let's talk about simulating hardware virtualization, containerization. Um, so getting your own hardware. Um, and so what are the requirements? Let's see, what are my requirements? Like what are my requirements? All right, and I'm actually going to go ahead and write my personal requirements. My personal requirements. I need to be able to run OpenPBS, um, and let's see, be able to um, emulate Kubernetes, prod, dev, and imp clusters, and let's see what else. I don't need to do any networking. Um, I need to be able to emulate Ansible, uh, our Ansible cluster deployments, um, automations. It would be nice if I could integrate with GitHub. I don't think, does anybody know if it's even possible to, is it even possible to run, to emulate GitHub Actions at home and to set up your own GitHub Actions runners? I don't think it's possible, right? I don't know. Let's see. Um, is it possible to have my own self-hosted runners for GitHub Actions that run in my home lab? It is possible. I haven't done it. Is it the same thing? We use custom runners for our company. Is it the same thing? So are you saying, and to reword it another way, are you saying that custom runners apply to people as well as they do to enterprise? So GitHub Enterprise Cloud is not required. Is that what you're saying? You use that to configure your network stuff? Damn. Today I learned. I did not. I am using that for everything. I cannot believe I haven't been doing that. Oh my god. Okay, with custom. Oh my god. I see, this is why I live stream. This is why I live stream, because all you smart people, you know who you are. I'm not going to dox you. You can come in here and tell me I'm full of, and give me ideas. This is a great idea. Possible to have your own self-hosted runners for GitHub Actions that run in your home lab. A self-hosted runner is an environment where you can run. I imagine that includes webhooks and stuff, right? Right. So run in your home lab. A self-hosted runner is an environment where you can run your GitHub Actions workflow using your own hardware, such as servers in your home lab, instead of GitHub's cloud-hosted runners. Custom environments, you can configure the runner to have specific software, hardware configuration, network access running in your home lab, hardware or private networks. Wow. Cost effective, you can save money, computer resources in your home lab. Yes, yes, yes. You don't have to, like, cause you end up paying runner resource. Oh my God, this is so cool. This, you know what this means? This means I can make my home lab. I can do a PR request or pull, and I can trigger a Zettelkasten generator that populates a web page or something rather than using the automated, I'm just using static page generation right now. But you could trigger your own static site generator. Somebody out there is like, yeah, Rob, where have you been? Yeah. Yeah, now I know. Increase control. You can control when how to host the runners to be able to scale. Steps to set up. Hey, thanks for the follow, Miss Lynn. Prepare your home lab machine. Ensure that machine in the home lab has the necessary resources. And that is why I asked the question, because I'm about to make a home lab, right? Ensure that machine in your home lab has the necessary resources, CPU, memory, disk space to run workloads you plan to execute via GitHub Actions. Solo-hosted runners should have network access to GitHub for fetching repositories and pushing results. Can it be a virtualized machine? We don't know. Virtual machine. Create a GitHub repo. You can run the self-server, register yourself to run on GitHub. Go to action runners, add runner. There's got to be some way for it to get to it. It's got to be able to have a webhook or something that you expose somehow. And that you can probably do through Cloudflare or something. Download the runner software. Configure the runner. After downloading the runner, you need to configure the runner. GitHub will provide a token as part of the runner setup. Place it in your repo. Run the runner, start the runner as a service. Ensure your runner continues to run in the background, install as a service. Actually, it looks like it doesn't have to have an inbound access to your network. It dials outbound. Oh, Moz, is that what you're saying? Oh, you're confirming. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say that is a much safer approach than it's dialing in. Oh my God, this is so cool. I'm so glad you guys told me about this. It pulls the job to run. Yeah, that is so cool. Use yourself on a runner and work. You know what's really cool about this is that at work, I specifically have to be able to make my own runners. So I haven't had to make a runner yet for the stuff that we're doing, but being able to make a runner and do it in the home lab. So that is definitely a thing I want to do. Um, so can I do that on in the cloud? I imagine that means you could do it from the cloud too. So let's all right, I think let's wrap up. We're an hour in, we've got an hour left. So let's wrap up what the personal requirements are for me. Now, your requirements might jive with mine, but so I need to be able to open Kubernetes and imp clusters. That's the main thing. Actually, I need to be able to test actually to be able to test enterprise API development, enterprise backend enterprise development. And this is an interesting part right here because it would be some of that code if I put it on my home lab is a violation of policy. Um, but testing out techniques, for example, the using SSH as a transport for the API when you don't have another method of doing that because you can't run microservices on the target. Those techniques can be tested without giving away, without violating corporate policy with regard to putting, corporate software, which I do not intend to do on my own stuff. There is a lot of software that I write, by the way, that can live. It is something that I can actually write that can be public, that can be used. So, for example, the YAML node stuff that I'm writing, I'm already, I know legally I would probably be in trouble if this ever came to it, but I have already written a lot of that software and it is deployed and it is working at work. Um, but I also want something similar to that. And so I am writing uh, almost the same software from scratch that does the same thing for myself, and it's got a different organization and everything. But at some point, if that becomes FOSS approved, I can actually swap out the stuff that I'm using at work for the stuff that I write when it's all open source approved. And for those of you who work for companies that are open source friendly, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of times they will start out writing a library and make it public from the beginning, but a lot of times it's like Google was with Kubernetes and Istio. It takes them a long time to warm up to the idea of giving their software away. And when they finally do, then you realize you didn't really want it anyway because it's crap. I'm speaking specifically of the Kubernetes code base. It's one of the worst code bases I have ever seen. It's absolutely horrible. And it's like it's exactly what you would expect a bunch of junior Java developers to write their Go in. You don't believe me? Let me show you. I'll show you the function that's like 40 characters long or so. It's insane. I don't like it. I'm done. Okay. So to be able to test back in enterprise API development, run OpenPPS, be able to emulate Ansible cluster deployment automations. I'm not going to be running OpenShift. There is a team that is using OpenShift at our place, but we are not. We are Kubernetes from scratch. Uh, Now this let's talk about the from scratch thing. This is a very key point when you're making a decision about whether to go with hardware or cloud. So there are certain things that you cannot emulate in the cloud. And let me say what I mean by that. Without going into a full-blown Kubernetes explanation, um, if you are going to deploy a Kubernetes cluster in the same way that we've deployed it at work, or that many enterprises have deployed in-house. That means they built their own vanilla Kubernetes clusters from scratch. They've had to make choices. Kubernetes is a specification. It is not a software. It's not a software suite. And while certain pieces of that, I mean, you can go to the Kubernetes, where is it? Let's go out there for a second. Um, what is the roadmap? It's not, is it called the roadmap? I think it is, yeah. So, nope, that's not it. This is the educational thing. It's called something else. I can't remember the URL. I haven't looked at it in a long time. Kubernetes landscape, I think it is. Yes, this is it. CNCF. And I just heard a streamer today talking about how much they don't like Kubernetes. In fact, they in his Twitter feed, I won't say who it is. In his Twitter feed, he made a notification saying that he had just deleted Kubernetes from his home lab and is never putting it back because his current job doesn't require using it anymore. There's a fair amount of hate against Kubernetes lately, and while I don't disagree with most of the criticisms of Kubernetes, it's not going anywhere, and there's still a lot of good jobs in it that are unfilled. How you doing, Colcus? So, so as you can see, I mean, Helm is a disaster. Don't even touch it. In fact, one of the reasons I want to do this is because I'm flattening Helm charts for Harbor, and be installing Harbor into my home lab, and testing, how that is happening, so that I can do something similar at work. But yeah, so as you can see, there's a bunch of technologies here, um, that fulfill what is needed for Kubernetes. So let me give you a specific example with regard to your home lab. So if you're going to build a Kubernetes home lab, and there's lots and lots of videos of me trying to do this from before. A lot of you will remember them. LBG will definitely remember. um you have to make decisions. You have to make a decision like, what's my networking interface going to be, the CNI, and usually it's Calico. What is my uh storage driver going to be? What is my load balancer going to be? And that's usually like something like Metal LB. How am I going to apply policies? Am I going to use, Gatekeeper? Am I going to do There's just a ton of like decisions that you have to make before. Am I going to use KubeVirt, or am I going to have some sort of hardware load balancer? And so, at home, you're not going to have that kind of option. You probably end up using round robin DNS. You've got a lot of decisions to be made. What storage class is a big one, right? So Kubernetes doesn't come with any idea, with any notion of storage, other than what you tell it. And the default is localhost storage, which means it just uses whatever disk the node is got available to it, which is a no-no. You're not supposed to do that unless it's a very, very, very specific uh, use case, and you have a daemon set for something that's going to always be on the same machine, and for performance reasons you want the storage cost to be local as opposed to PVC, which is distributed. I mean, it's just a mess. Kubernetes is really, really hard to get your head around. um, but why is that relevant to the home lab? Because a lot of people going into Kubernetes like me, when I did several years ago, and I'm still not a pro Kubernetes because I'm always doing the software development on the back end for the API stuff, which isn't even Kubernetes related at all. And so my mind is kind of split between multiple things, and I tend to prefer the Go programming. So, my Kubernetes skills are soft. That's why I want a home lab. So having said that, how much Kubernetes skill do I need? Right? How much do you need? Do I need to be able to deploy a Kubernetes from scratch vanilla cluster and understand the networking related issues? Do I have to be able to understand, load balancing? Am I going to be talking about VPN sorts of things? Am I going to do virtual LAN networking? So, there is a Kubernetes skill set and a module, uh, sort of an educational module, I would say, that if that you need to address if you want to be on the infrastructure side, in which case, and that's the lab. That's why I built the lab, by the way. Um, so uh, the lab that I donated And I'm glad I'm thinking about this because the reason I donated the lab was because I made a decision as we were doing the move. I mean, I invested a lot of money in building up that lab based on one assumption. The assumption was that I wanted to be a kick-ass infrastructure engineer who could deploy and troubleshoot uh, nodes and devices and GPUs and the utilization of GPUs, taints and tolerations, GPU node discovery, all of this stuff at the Kubernetes meets hardware level, right? In fact, it was at that time that I was evaluating. In fact, they took my comment down from the website. I was one of the early evaluators of I forget the name of it now. I can't remember. It's blanking on me. It's COVID brain. I have COVID brain. Um, the tar what starts with a T? There's a Linux Talos. That's it. I was one of the early evaluators of Talos about 2 years ago, and that Talos was this idea of like hardware management through Kubernetes, which they're still trying to push it really big. In fact, Google, Mr. Go himself, Mr. Cobra, who's over evangelizing Go for Google and is pushing it Talos a lot these days. Um, and I mean for good reason. I mean but anyway, so that was when I was like, okay, I need to be really good with installing and setting up hardware. I need to be good with specing computers. I ended up finding out that my disk drives were too slow for etcd. And so I got some faster, we did the IPP check against the faster SSD of the Optiplex that I bought for $150. And so I got three of those so that I could simulate, HA etcd, and make sure everything worked, and the quorum would work out and everything, and actually have a true Kubernetes deployment, even if the storage classes. In fact, I ended up leaving that when we were trying to discuss what kind of storage class I was going to end up using, and people were saying you should use SafeFS and you should do this, and I was like, can I just use NFS? And they're like, no, it's got problems. And at work, we were having massive failures with GPFS, and now everybody's all Lustre, and now they're going back to GPFS because there've been improvements in the GPFS stack. So a lot of work. I mean, just the topic of how do I, and I mean, this is the question. It's a very simple question. How do I add storage to my Kubernetes cluster? Right? It should be easy enough to answer. It is not. It is not. It's probably the most complicated piece of Kubernetes, because Kubernetes keeps trying to say, oh, there's no such thing as storage. And the only way you would even see any of these problems is if you were trying to do it by yourself. If you go to the cloud, if you go up to Google Cloud, or you go up to Amazon or Azure, any of them, EKS, all of them, they all do this for you. Their Kubernetes deployments already have their own implementation of storage class, and it's all invisible. It's invisible to you. You don't care. You don't care, and it's in the specification for Kubernetes. You should never have to care about how much storage you have. Well, I had to care because all of a sudden our disk was filled, and we had no way to know when it was going to get filled. Don't get me started on that. And there was nothing in it. And the most recent version of Kubernetes have added storage metrics that are now a part of the standard Kubernetes software thing. Thank God, because people actually do care. People who are doing their own vanilla deployments need to know about that stuff. But strictly speaking, you don't really need to know whether you're filling your PVC or how it's manifesting behind the scenes, because Kubernetes is supposed to be this beautiful abstraction over all of that stuff. Well, if you're managing all of that stuff and you're also deploying the abstraction on top of all of that stuff, then you need to know about all of those things. What does this have to do with a home lab? Because it radically changes your approach to how you have a home lab. I cannot make a home lab that emulates everything. I can't put GPFS and LusterFS and some of that stuff. I definitely can't put some of the higher end NVIDIA GPUs. This is because one of the reasons that I wanted to use those Mac Minis is because they had GPU. And then I learned that NVIDIA didn't have drivers that supported the GPU on those Mac Minis because they were so old. And they didn't even support. I bought like two or three what are they for IRL streaming? Those Jetson Nanos, which have CUDA cores on there, but they're also not supported. Therefore, because there's no drivers, you can't use them. And like, why would you want GPU in your Kubernetes? Because of machine learning, high performance machine learning, being able to kick off jobs that have taints and tolerations that match them, that create affinities for specific GPUs that are in the cluster, as opposed to in PBS or some sort of batch processing. We have both, right? Most of our high-end machine learning stuff goes through our own customized batch processing system, but we have for the longest time have also been sending things forward to, and Kubernetes that didn't have any notion of GPU when it first started, and now they're like, oh shit, AI. And so they're adding it to it like hand over fist. You're getting their Kubernetes is becoming more and more aware of GPU, and so now when you can submit Kubernetes deployments and stuff, you can create taste of toleration and say, okay, make sure I have a GPU over here because this particular job is going to run over here. It needs this deployment, it's whatever. It needs to have a GPU. Okay, how does that relate to my home lab? Do I need to emulate running machine learning models in my home lab? And that is a question I have, right? Do I need ML uh, model model jobs at home? Now, this, uh, you know, in Kubernetes, right? In batch. If I was going to make an actual, if I was going to create an actual emulation of my work environment, I would have that stuff, right? If I wanted to, so this API step right here, right? If I wanted to create an API that emulated submission of machine learning jobs that run under PBS or some form of PBS, um, I'm answering my own question here because I can't use our customized version of PBS batch processing in my home lab. I can use Open PBS and I can create my own thing that it may be similar, but I cannot use the actual code. I just can't. That is a highly competitive trade secret within our company. Our customized version of PBS, they actually headhunted the original creators of PBS who work for our company now in order to keep us competitive. So, I mean, really kick-ass competitive, like better than anybody in the planet right now. The company I work for kind of like looks down its nose at FANG companies because it's like, okay, yeah, run along, go play with your search engine. And so anyway, uh, how much of that do I want to emulate? How much can I emulate? What am I going to be doing in my home lab, right? Um, and and so, you know, I got to think about this. I'm like pondering right now. Um, so yeah, I the thing that gets me in trouble every time I do any of this is I always take on too much. It's just how I am. I always, humans naturally are overly optimistic about everything. Everything. I mean, that's why they say every estimate you ever make, you should always double it. Because we generally are about 50% wrong in our optimism of how long something takes, uh, or what, what we're gonna do with it. And I that's what got me in trouble. That's why I ended up donating the lab because I was like, I thought that I wanted to. If you look at my calendar, I don't have any time. If I'm going to maintain an 8-hour workday, uh, you know, and it's not like I'm trying to break into the industry. At this point, I am like going to retire in 5 to 10 years. So if anything, I'm maintaining the skills I have. So my needs are different than yours. If you're trying to break in, you probably have a lot more to learn. You maybe have more time than I do. You're going to dedicate, 10, 12, 16, 24 hours outside of work to learn all the things you need to. I don't need to do that. I am maintaining the skills that I have and um sharpening those specific skills so that I remain the best at what I am doing, um, so that I do not get distracted by all the tech out there. One of the biggest mistakes I think any technologist can make is try to learn everything all at once, and then you're not good at anything. Now there is this idea of this full stack engineer, which is a total myth, but um, even in a full stack engineer, you generally get, database SQL specialists, and you get people that are API specialists, and you get people that are front end developers, you get people who are really kick ass with React, you get people who are just really, really good with dynamic CSS. Um, so having a specialization is going to make you more in demand when somebody wants the skill you have. So that's just a general piece of advice is, you know, if you want to get a job, become the best at something. I mean, seriously, like find what it is and target that thing and become a 10x in that one thing. And then market the shit out of that when you go out, because that you can then prove that you are literally, one of the top people on the planet in that specific thing. And that's why I think lead code tests are so stupid, because you're the best in the planet at doing a lead code test, but you haven't produced anything. So, but if you can prove that you can produce something really well, and so let me talk about that, how that works for myself here, and just doing a little bit of reflection. Um, Currently, beyond education, which is obviously my passion, one of my superpowers. But at this job, within the scope of my current job, it's funny because I just had a performance review and a one-on-one, and or getting ready for a performance review, and we had a talk. I had to kind of do some reflection, like how can I bring the most value to this company? And there's actually two things specifically, and I'm talking about myself here because I encourage you to do the same thing when you're thinking about where to put the time in the home lab, right? And this is directly related to the decision about whether I should get a computer or I should use the cloud. And I think you probably can guess where I'm going with this. But as you know, because I started out as a generalized infrastructure engineer and stuff, and then I kind of fell into this role because I had the skill. I'm the subject matter expert on our team and Go, period. And I'm not saying that to brag. I just had the most experience in it. I picked it up in 2013 because I knew it was going to be something I wanted to do. But particularly for systems integration on the back end. I'm not as strong with some of the cloud related things, such as, I had to learn OAuth really well, which was a pain in the ass, by the way. Um, I still had to pick up GitHub Actions and workflows and things like that that are part of development. If you're going to be doing API development, I had to pick up Apogee and Open API, which is the formerly Swagger, and all those things that cloud developers would normally have. I had to pick those pieces up to have them go with Go. But now Go has become my core skill. The reason I'm saying this is the only thing I need to be able to do is write Go applications and deploy them to Kubernetes cluster and have them talk to either actual or simulated PBS systems. That's it. So that means I need um, uh, I'm going to make a conclusion here. Only simulated systems are required. I'm not going to be doing any performance benchmarking. Um, and yeah. Oh, that is cool. Uh, yeah, yeah, homelab subreddit should be helpful. Yeah, a subreddit, or I also have. I mean, there's a Discord channel about this. Um, Only simulated systems are required. This is going to be very tempting. Okay, so we have a half an hour left, and I want to make a decision about this. The reason, so at the beginning of the stream, I told you my sad story about killing my tower. Uh, let it rest in peace. I don't know how I killed it. I moved it and it shorted the motherboard somehow, and now the fan's gonna blow up. I mean, the fan sounds like the computer's gonna blow up every time I turn it on. And frankly, I don't get. If I was in my 20s, I would be in there. I would have a post board. I'd be checking the posts, things. I would be like, sometimes maybe even soldering a broken connection because I'm, got a using a computer from somebody's grandma or something. That I don't care about that anymore. Okay. I gotta be honest, you went for an interview. They wanted front back DB cyber DevOps testing, and yeah, they want everything, right? They want the all stack engineer. Um, yeah, and frankly, even the most experienced people aren't going to have all that stuff. They're not. I couldn't even do a Kubernetes get pods command the other day. I've done it thousands of them all the time, but I couldn't do it because I'd been so focused. Also, I had COVID, but I had been so focused on uh, Go for this entire time. You can't context switch all the time and keep all the stuff. At least I can't. Maybe some of you have more like onboard RAM than others. I don't. I don't. Maybe it's because I'm old. I don't know. But that's why I have a Zettelkasten, by the way. If you're having problem with context switching, one of the best ways to bolster yourself is to add your own RAM. Add your own RAM in the form of a second brain, a Zettelkasten, or something like that. And you can go fetch that data anytime you want. When you have the thought, you capture the thought right away before you forget it because you're going to forget it. I do it all the time. And you can have it over there and you can go fetch that. This is one of the reasons that I love ChatGPT so much because ChatGPT has largely been populated with all of the onboard cache of any question I might ever have. Like I couldn't even remember, like whatever. So the point's been made. Um, Needed 20 years experience in Kubernetes exactly. If you tab fewer tool crabs, Chrome tabs, less dopamine addiction. Don't give in to that dopamine addiction. More yoga, practice meditation. Calm the monkey mind. Do exercise. I mean, this is not about that, but um, this is about getting to what I need. And what I need is a system I can write and develop the API on, the system that I can practice uh, doing the deployments, the system, and that includes GitHub Actions for triggered deployments and stuff, and how to have Ansible actually call into a GitHub action um, and stuff like that. So that means I need to have multiple machines. The machines can be virtualized. They do not need. There's another thing. I do not need GPU capacity. Uh, I A lot of GPU capacity in cluster or PBS or batch. Now that said, I probably do want it. This is a really important question because um, only one process can use your GPU at a time. Um, and I found this out the hard way on my main machine. I have my desktop hard. This is one of the things I'm thinking about doing. I have a desktop Windows machine that I've been streaming from, and I'm not using it anymore because I'm using these Macs for everything. The only time I use it is when I'm doing IRL streaming, and it's a Windows machine currently because I was going to play Zwift on there, but I don't need to do that anymore because I can do Zwift on the Mac here and stream from here, and so I don't need it for the reason which means that I can now boot I need to migrate Anton off of there, which is a virtual machine over there right now, and I need to get anything from this Zwift configuration or the stuff off that Windows machine, and I can reimage that machine as a server. And it is a pretty big server. That might be a waste. It's a big ass GPU. Um, it's not a GPU that's designed. It's a GPU that's designed for game playing. It's not a GPU that's designed for machine learning models. So it would sort of be a waste of that computer to not use a desktop environment on it of some kind, whether it be Linux or I ran Linux as a desktop environment on it for years. It's funny because Prime, oh my God. So the Prime agent yesterday, while he was streaming, somebody was giving him shit for screen ripping. And I was like, NVIDIA drivers on Linux. And I would remember all the pain and suffering I went through 4 years ago. 4 years ago when I started streaming. 4 years ago when I started streaming, I said I'm going to stream from Linux, goddammit, and everybody was complaining about the screen ripping, and it took me like 2 weeks to figure out how to get rid of the proper NVIDIA configurations to avoid screen tearing. And somebody was complaining about screen tearing on Prime Stream just this last week. And I was reminded, oh my God, that's like one other thing that I don't have to mess with because I'm streaming from an actual machine that works, not Linux desktop. A40 does well. Nice. NVIDIA card supports SR on a Linux vGPU driver. You can partition the GPU and pass it through virtual PCI device. Ooh, that's very nice. Um, so you're saying you can't actually chop up a rather powerful GPU and have it look like multiple GPUs for the sake of because then I can assign each of those GPUs off to a system. So that can be virtualized, what you're saying, right? Is there a minimum version of a GPU that can do that? Because when I'm pretty confident that my desktop Windows machine that I'm streaming, IRL streaming from is probably not capable of that. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to be buying an NVIDIA GPU for that. So I think we don't have a lot of time left. We only have like 20 or 30 minutes here. There's one last thing that we have to totally rule out. And and I don't like what I'm about to say, but there's a chance that I can do all of this in the cloud. And every time I look at this, I come back and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? And but before the last time I did a cloud evaluation, so let's spend the final moments here. Okay, so we know it can be virtualized, right? Um, we know it can be virtualized. I do not need a lot of GPU capacity, but it would be nice to at least have one GPU that I could practice machine learning model submissions on, right? I don't want to become a machine learning master, but knowing how to submit a machine learning model uh, is probably going to become more and more general knowledge that everybody should have. So that includes me. And frankly, I would like to learn a little machine learning, but I also like to learn a bit better networking. Those things are very dangerous because they distract you from the thing that's going to make you money that you want to do every day. And unless you want to be a generalist, and there are some people who are that. The people who are machine learning experts in my experience, and there are hundreds of them in my workplace, they tend to be very neophytes when it comes to Linux. One of them didn't even know how to use the MV command. They actually went out to they were demonstrating something and they actually went out to their desktop browser to their whatever their finder and they copied the file over rather than using the move command, even though they were all their other commands with the command line. They had no idea to use it. They'd never learned Linux terminal, but they were PhDs in machine learning models. Because again, they were specialized. They put they put all their brain power into one bucket in their, role playing adventure character generation. So it depends on your clouds. It depends on your cloud nest egg, aka discretionary money spend that you don't spend about. Yeah, clouds make you pay for like everything. These perhaps spend the money on the right to write it off as business expense. Yeah. If it is GeForce in the name, not a chance. The others are at least Ampere GA10X series 4 years ago. Some chance. Um. Yeah. So let's talk about this GPU thing since we're kind of on it for a second. Obviously, having GPU in your cluster in your batch system is necessary for emulating machine learning model submission, even if it only runs on the one GPU. Um, to be honest, when I consider our jobs, most of our machine learning Kubernetes jobs, they associate with a single machine with a GPU, and then they lock that GPU down. It's very un. There are a couple applications in our environment where they split up uh, uh, different parts of the model to different GPUs. But for the most part, they want to lock down some of our most powerful GPUs for a very long time because they need to run them, and it's extremely expensive. Um, and the reason I say that is because if I want a GPU in my system that I can emulate job submission for, having one GPU on a reasonably decent ML processing GPU on one machine is going to be enough. So whether that's because I've virtualized a machine and I've assigned the GPU to that machine, which I know you can do in KVM, um, Whether I want to chunk up the GPU and have it split across multiple ones, it would actually be really nice. Somebody in the chat has suggested that's possible. Um, I probably don't need that. Why is that relevant to my home lab? Because if I can get away, if NVIDIA is going, if my machine learning jobs will run in TensorFlow or PyTorch, if they will run on the GPU that I have now on my Windows machine, and if I repurpose it as a Linux machine, and I can also get maybe 10 other VMs out of that machine. I probably could do that now that, that CPU and RAM are not locked down, which is amazing, actually. The fact that you can actually over allocate RAM to virtual machines. I don't think we have any NPUs. No, I don't have any of that in my system that I have to emulate anyway. Somebody else might, but I don't have that. Right. The stuff I have to be able to do is I have to be able to write code and stuff that gets jobs to their destination. In fact, it doesn't even have to be a real job. It could just be the simulation of a job, right? But the problem is simulation is the more you simulate things for your own test environment, um, the more you run into other problems. But this could actually be good because one of the bullet points of tasks that I need to do over the next this year and next is we need to start creating some really high level systems integration testing for the entire API system. That means complete testing of the whole system. And that means running multiple little things that are checking in with all of the little points of observability while they're happening and seeing that everything's doing what it's supposed to do in terms of like the scope of the API submission. So that would mean checking in with the job, seeing if it's doing its thing. We have our own load balancer and stuff like that to make sure that we're allocating. We have our own failover so that if some of the transfer nodes are down, it'll pick up the next transfer node that's available. Those are all stuff that had to be hard coded. We had to write our own for that. So so that's the stuff that I'm focused on testing, and I can test all of that with a job that is just a simulated machine learning job. I don't even need a GPU. I could submit a simulated machine learning job to a system that only has a CPU, and then I could, unless I'm trying to test, taints and tolerations affinities in my Kubernetes cluster for the things that have GPU, which is a configuration, setup, operations type of thing that I might also want to be able to do. Um, you know, all of that would be facilitated by having I think I could do all of that with probably a dozen VMs that I could, set up and tear down. One of the goals that I have is I want to be able to reuse the infrastructure for anything. So I want to be able this. We actually are setting this up in our cluster. Our next cluster deployment. This I don't know if this is a trade secret or not, but um, our next cluster deployment model, which will be done by the end of the year, um, we changed something in a Git repo and put it all up in the PR process and everything. And then when it gets merged, it automatically redeploys the whole cluster, the entire cluster. So it'll downgrade the cluster, it'll bring it down, and it'll bring it back up slowly with all the new stuff. And that's pretty damn cool. And there's a lot of Ansible involved there. Um, the idea of being able to do that in my own environment is very appealing to me because then I can just reuse the same resources. The same problem that I have at home because I don't have a really big lab is the same problem that an enterprise has at scale because they don't have, they don't want to waste nodes, particularly nodes that have very expensive GPUs associated with them. I mean, those nodes when they're down, it literally costs us thousands of dollars a day of outage when those things can are not working. Because we have enough work to keep every one of our high-end GPUs busy 24/7 and sometimes those things are just sitting idle because they're for whatever reason hasn't been matched up. So I need to be able to test that. Um, so can that be tested with a bunch of cloud things? Let's look at cost of cloud before we end here today. And the thing that got me thinking about I might be able to afford a cloud deployment for this kind of thing. So when you talk about cloud, the first thing you want to make a decision on, and I am not a cloud expert at all. There are so many better people about that. who can tell us what to do and who generally use the cloud for everything. Um, Again, our company has a full GPU deployment. We are GCP, that's not a secret, and Google Cloud is the preferred platform for all applications development within our company. And the only time that they come to our team is when they realize that it's too expensive, because it is, right? It's more expensive. The crazy, or they have oh my God, I have some. I don't know if I can talk about this. Let me think about this. Okay, so remember I said our company has a GCP first policy, right? I'm gonna zoom in on this. I'm gonna I'm gonna tell you a story. So here comes a story. This story might actually make the decision for me. It really might. Okay, so let me tell you a story. So since the dawn of time, companies have been saying, let's do it all in-house and save money. Whether it means the people that they hire, whether they hire contractors or they hire internal people, or they want to build out infrastructure internally, this pendulum has been swinging very slowly since computers were, well, frankly, since network computing was invented. And I have been around through every iteration of this. I remember attending things in the 90s where everybody's desktop PCs were going to be obliterated, and it was all about the network computer. Anybody remember this? Anybody remember the Sun Microsystems network computer? And they were trying to convince businesses to commit to this thing. There's this little itsy bitsy teeny tiny box that would go on your desktop. And then fast forward to 2021 or whatever, and what Google tried to do by saying, hey, you can just play any computer game and run it all on our back end, and you can just have the screen, right? And all the back end power is going to be, you can have a nice thin client. So thick client, thin client, thin client, thin client. Cloud, not cloud, on-prem, on-prem. This pendulum has been swinging forever. Netflix, yeah, Netflix tried to go down the path, and frankly, they really don't make sense unless you're talking about a university deployment, pixie booting, Netflix tried to do that. This pendulum keeps going like this, right? So, and I'm now full time, and so it's kind of interesting because while the pendulum about all our resources are going to be HR, they're all going to be hired internally, can be swinging inside. You can have another pendulum all the way out here. So one of our pendulums is, and I won't say that the company, I'm almost did. Our company is focused on in building internal resources. They're getting rid of all the contractors. And I was a contractor, and they had to make a decision: do we fire him or keep him? And they said, well, no, we got to keep this guy. So that was good. But then you got over here, they made another decision. They said, no more of this enterprise infrastructure on site. We want to get rid of it. It's too expensive. We can't keep it around, and we can't buy it. It just gets immediately out of date. So and it's not even the latest. So we're just gonna and we rent half of our hardware anyway because we don't want to be on the hook for it if it's not real. Plus, some of the hardware we have has never been released to the general public because we have a very, very, very close relationship with NVIDIA, because they want us to test all their stuff up first because we put everything through the paces like crazy. Same with IBM. That's why we found all the GPFS problems. Anyway, so that pendulum's like, no, no, no more on-prem. We're going to put it all in the cloud. So then we get this mandate at the beginning of the year. Everything is going to GCP. If you're not going to GCP, you're a bad person. And here's our team, which our team is responsible for running all the internal, uh, basically the internal cloud. There's two internal clouds. It's really complicated. We also have an entire team that does an OpenShift internal thing. We don't have anything to do with them. It's a big company, so we have this internal. We're specifically for high performance machine learning, so we provide internal resources for that. And so, sure enough, here's the story. It keeps moving back and forth. Um, your local library did that when I was a kid. BT 100s. Oh hell yeah, right? Those are great, man. It's you know what's funny? It's funny is I'm actually doing the same thing in my home lab. This moral has a point. This has a point. Remember that I was saying, okay, no, I'm going to bring everything on prem, and then I was like, and then I went on the bike ride, and I was like, wait a second, I can't have a home lab that I have to carry around with me. I can't port around my racks with me anywhere. I guess I could log into them and manage them, but I'm paying all this power and energy and everything, and I have to keeping this deprecated hardware around. It's not, I just need to use the cloud or something like it, right? And so, and then that's why I'm streaming from a laptop now, right? Because I don't need the desktop. Frankly, I don't want to be pinned down anymore. So I personally have gone toward more of a thin client at home. My approach to my own education, my own home lab is thin client. And now I'm trying to decide, okay, I need the server. I need server capacity. How do I get it? Right. Well, our company has decided, no, you go to GCP. Well, here's the funny part. So within the last 2 months, and I might get in trouble. This is why I don't talk about the company name, because because it was really funny, and I'm sure somebody would get on me for saying this, but and I'm not saying any names, but we are starting to get all kinds of internal back channel inquiries about things that we can do that should be done in GCP, and they can't be done in GCP. You know why? Because they can't get a GPU. This is the best part. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. When you go to the cloud, what do you expect? You expect cloud capacity, right? You expect to be able to dial it up. The whole point, the whole selling point of the cloud, the whole selling point of the cloud is you're gonna turn the dial, you're gonna turn the dial, and I need an H100. I need an H100 for 48 hours. Okay, so you turn the dial all the way up, and you're running machine learning jobs, and you pay your whatever 50K for your job, and you can't do that. Google Cloud, we the estimate. I don't know for sure. I'm gonna get in trouble here, but we were talking with my peers, and we're averaging it out based on what we know, and we're thinking that Google probably only makes about 20% of their GPU capacity available to their customers that they're selling cloud services to. So we have these big ass customers of our product. I mean, within the company we have customers, right? We're a super big company, so we have customers inside the company, and they want to run their machine learning models, and they can't do it. They go into GCP, and if they can, the first problem was them getting these jobs are so freaking big. Just getting the data to run the job across the wire onto GCP so that it can run without latency that's going to shit the bed is already a huge deal. I mean, it's like a huge deal. Just that one hurdle. We were already having people ask us all the time, well, we don't want to do the data transfer, and we already have a stuff all on local storage here. Can you do it here? Right? And we're like, well, yeah, we've been doing it all along. And it said, but we don't have the same SLA. As we don't have a service level agreement is your promise about how much downtime is capacity would have and everything. We're like we're not promising you the same thing that they're promising you. They're promising you 5 nines uptime. We're not doing that. We're not, because we're a small team, but we're here. And by the way, our team has exploded. They've hired like 5 new people in the last year, 5 or 10 new people. Because why? Because more and more people are realizing that having that capacity on site is necessary. And so they're actually hiring people to run it. We're hiring people, lots of people out of some of the bigger Silicon Valley and the bigger like governmenty kind of organizations are coming to our organization because they're used to running large deployments internally. And so we have this capacity situation going on, but the real kicker is that now these people who spent all their time deploying their application over to GCP can't get a GPU. So they can't do their jobs. They literally cannot run their machine learning jobs because Google just gives them I'm sorry, we don't have any GPUs available for you. This is becoming a chronic problem with Google Cloud. And it's completely opaque. There's no way for us to know. Google's like totally zip flip. They won't tell us what's going on. They won't tell us why our jobs aren't working. They won't tell us that they just have to say, well, we don't have capacity for that. We're over capacity. So there's some dial within Google. And you think about that for a second before you make a decision to go with the cloud for something like this. particularly machine learning, high performance, and most people's machine learning jobs are business fucking critical. These are huge to the enterprise. There's all this stuff that's going on, especially ours. If you can't get your jobs to run, you don't make money. You don't make, fourth quarter earnings and stuff like that. And if you trust a company like GCP or Azure or Amazon, and they say they have GPU computing capacity and they don't have it, and they just say, sorry, looks like we didn't make SLA this time. Well, I guess we'll have to pay the penalty. Oh, well. So what? You get the penalties, but you don't get to do your job. You don't get to run your model. People, I'm telling you right now, if you are thinking about, if you work for a large company, if you're a CTO or if you're in the enterprise architecture space at all, be very, very careful about your agreements that you have with these people that are trying to get your business, because these things are crazy expensive as it is. They're already, and that's the third thing, right? So the third part of this study, the third part of this rant is that even when GPU capacity is available and it can be scheduled and we can get these big massive data files over to GCP, we have to run, we have to pay through the fucking nose for these models. I mean, the amount of money that you have to pay for that, considering, renting an H100, I think is something that somebody said it was like 12,000 or 2,500 a day, 25,000, 12,000 a day. No, that's V100s. We're talking, I don't remember what it is. I think the B100s costs us 100 a day, 1,000 a day. Don't trust me. I don't know my numbers. I'm not involved in that part of the business. But NVIDIA B100s and H100s, to buy an H100 is $25,000. So, in fact, you can go on YouTube. I'm running out of battery. You can go on YouTube and you can actually see. There's a couple YouTubers who were lucky enough to be loaned one of these GPUs in order to show it on their stream, and then they immediately had to give it back, and they had like a person in the studio with them because they are expensive. Um, all my batteries are charged. Yeah. So anyway, that's the end of the stream today. I think I made my decision. I am going to go ahead and pitch. I was going to go look at Contabo for the cloud. And after having this conversation about cloud capacity and the hassle of setting up the cloud, I'm going to go with what my gut is telling me. And my gut is telling me to get another tower. They're $700. They're not that much. I don't need as much capacity as I thought I needed even when I bought that one. So I could probably get away with one that's even less than that. I'm going to buy another refurbished dedicated machine, and I'm just going to plug it straight into my network. I'm just going to use my home router for my main router. I'm not going to buy a VLAN or anything like that. And then I'll chop that up and I'll be able to access that from as if it's my own personal cloud. Um, and batteries charged for break. Yeah, and then we don't get mobile home lab in the trailer for the win. I know, and then that way I'll be able. The thing I like about that is I'm already using this method to BNC into my home lab, into my desktop IRL streaming machine, and so I'm just going to replace the HP that I have there. I don't know if I'm going to get another HP, so I'm going to definitely be in the market for a tower of some kind. I don't know the capacity. But having gone through the story about the cloud, I just am very uncomfortable with the cloud. For the record, I do use DigitalOcean for all my cloud services and my DNS and everything, and I really love them. Their interface is fantastic. I do not like Amazon. I've used them a lot. They're far too complicated. Their interface is too complicated. People are like, why are you using the GUI? You should be using the command line for everything on that. I'm like, sometimes the web GUI is a thing. But so if and when I'm going to use a cloud for some reason, I was looking at Contabo because it's a much lower price point for like Minecraft servers and that kind of thing. But the point of the matter is that I don't need to have public facing server capacity. I need to be able to chop up a whole bunch of resources really simply and easily. And the best way to do that is to get a tower and chop it up. So I'm going to stick with that recommendation for myself. I'm going to talk because I almost talked myself into trying the cloud again, and I just don't want to get surprised with credit card charges and all the stuff that happens from the cloud. So I'm going to go ahead and so the next time I do a home lab stream, um, I may do a little bit more of this later tonight so we can pick one. If so, I'll go ahead and publish it to YouTube. Um, but I want to finish for today for no other reason than my voice is gone. And then we can. But I feel really good about that, and I'm thank you for the stream to my live stream who's been chatting, chiming in this whole time. Several of them have recommended already towers that they prefer, and it seems like getting a tower for a home. I know that's what Hetanis does, who has much, much, much more experience than I. HET_TANIS. A big shout out to Het, good friend of mine. In Twitch, and I just bow down to his skills when it comes to setting up home lab kind of things. And he also prefers having a tower and chopping it up. Specifically, I think a lot of people do that, and then they'll put Proxmox on there, and then Proxmox kind of helps you to chop it up pretty easily. And thank you for the shout out, appreciate that. And that is going to conclude the stream today. In fact, we'll go ahead and go out and raid somebody. So if you're on YouTube and you've been sticking with this video, the rest of this video is just going to be rating out to somebody, so you can end right now. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see. Is this going to work? Oh my gosh, it worked. How about this one? Yeah, we can like do all of my Mac things. So this is my favorite one though. All right, everybody. I think that's going to do it for me today. I'm going to be on the bike. Join me if you want to join me for my bike rides, and we can continue to talk while I huff and puff on my bicycle. And we'll go give that a shot. All right. So thank you, YouTube. All right, let's go raid it. That's a. I know. Let's see how this one. How about this one? Wait, that's a bad sign. I think I just flipped everybody off. Right. It was like that one's balloons. I think that's balloons. Peace, love, and balloons. All right. So it's like all the good stuff. What is it? Oh, bicycle, bicycle. I know. I want my bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle. Okay, wait. I am gonna raid something though, because we have like a non-insignificant number of people today. People are actually here, so we're gonna go raid someone. I don't know who. I'm not raiding Stretchy Girl anymore. No. I've been Did you get Algo Bro? Is Algo Bro on? I'll raid him. I'll raid anybody. There's I mean, I might rate her. She was streaming to two different streams just today. And I think it was actually I think she was either double streaming or she was just replaying a thing. She wasn't even really there, you know. Um I don't know who to raid. Should we do Algebro? I don't mind searching. I mean, I can raid Algebro. She's pretty hot. Yeah. The YouTube, if anybody who's hanging on for the YouTube video, they're like, what the hell is going on here? Pizza Princess G? Okay, let's do that. I mean, why not? That's somebody new too. Princess G. Here we go. TwitchCon. Oh god. Definitely an IRL stream. All right, bye everybody. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. We have to wait for the raid to go through. There's a few of us here. I can't hear it. No, I should probably listen to what's going on. Chat, what's going on? I'm supposed to be there. I bought tickets, and here I am making home lab videos instead. I'm getting massive FOMO right now.